Welcome, everyone, to the Feminine Outliers podcast, your dose of fun, life advice, and experiences from two African professional women living and working in the Western world. We are your hosts, Cholwe Mandona,
and Zelda Wasau.
and we are excited to have you here with us again. So, welcome, everyone. The theme of today's podcast episode is self-sabotage. So, yes, we are coming for ourselves and we are coming for you too. Um I mean, we just have to do it, Zell. The month of June is coming up. Half of the year is gone. And how are we tracking with our goals? How are we tracking with our life vision?
Mm-hmm.
How our New Year resolutions going. So it's time to just check in and be very real with ourselves. So I am very excited, but also it's going to be a learning moment. So sit back or buckle up, rather, as we dive into this discussion. But before we get started, we would like to share with you what we have been unlearning this week. So I'll pass the baton to Zell to start us off. So, what have you been unlearning?
So my unlearning this week is kind of online, or partially in line with self-sabotage. But basically, I've been unlearning the scarcity mentality.
Mm.
And this is something that, again, I feel like we can talk about a whole episode. But basically, I'm going to talk about just one aspect that I have been unlearning of the scarcity mentality. Or let's give examples. And basically, I'm unlearning feeling like I have to, suffer just because I don't want to pay for something. And I think that's part
Mm.
of the scarcity mentality. Simply because you don't want to pay for extra services. And in your head, you're like, nope, I can't do it. I don't want. I really want to hold on to the money, and then it ends up being very inconvenient for you, or it ends up taking so much of your time that at the end of the day, just being able to part with a little bit more of money would be useful in a sense.
Mhm.
So, and I'm really guilty of doing that. Like, it's like, oh, I'm going to do it by myself. But if it makes more sense because it'll free up more of my time and enable me to do more stuff, if I just pay $50 here, $50 there, I think it's worth it. Uh, and I feel like that's part of scarcity mentality because you're like, no, I can't part with anything. No, I can do it by myself. And yeah, you can do it by yourself, but sometimes is it worth it doing it by yourself? That's
Mhm.
the question. I would say part of a funny one that I'm thinking about today is, as I told you, my suitcase is overweight, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to pay for it because I at this point in time I need it. But growing up, oh my goodness, no freaking way would I ever travel with an overweight suitcase. Like my mom, she's like a packing aficionado. Like she
Mhm.
really packs really well. But we would always be on point. And I get it because you don't want to pay extra money. But also I'm just like my convenience, like I feel like I should just, sometimes just, let go and just be like, fine, I'll pay. I'll do this. I'll just pay for it. But scarcity mentality just it shows up in so many other ways. And this is just like
Mhm.
one of the ways I'm learning, and it just goes, as I said, spending on stuff. Like I I do you ever feel guilty when you're trying to spend money on stuff that you like or enjoy, but it's not a necessity, it's a
Mhm.
want.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
for some reason you're feeling so guilty all the time. And in my head, I'm just like, but why am I feeling guilty? Like this is something that I enjoy doing, and as long as I plan for it and include it in my budget, it should be okay. But it's this kind of thing of no, every money, like you feel like every cent you have needs to be going to, like, I don't know, investment, this, that, something more useful than a simple want that's not necessarily going to, I don't know, impact your future in a sense.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's just, and I feel like it's something I grew up with. So I'm trying to
Mhm.
unlearn that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. I like that. Because the thing that came to my mind as you were speaking was um the more you value your time, the more you're willing to not do the things that just would take up your time, and just are not adding as much joy or as much value. um and one example I can share on that, for example, is as simple as the dishwasher in the kitchen. Shout out to the dishwasher in the kitchen. um but it's, I used to pride myself being able to be like, okay, I'm a responsible adult. I'll eat my meal, and then after I eat my meal, I'll wash my plate, and then, just do that because that's how I grew up. But then now with the things that I have to do, like the number of things I have to do in the day, washing dishes is not a practice or a habit I want to maintain just because I've been doing it for, most of my life. Now I look at the dishwasher and I'm like, please do your job. You have only one job, right? Um, and no, I do not just like obviously put one plate and then run the dishwasher. I obviously wait for my housemates to put more stuff or until it gets full. But just not
Hmm.
washing, like just not washing the dishes, that 10 minutes, even if it's just 10 minutes to meditate, to read a book, read a chapter, it just brings so much more joy to me. um and I'm just would ask my now I ask myself, like, yeah, anything that does not bring as much value, I'm going to delegate, um because my time now is more precious. So I'm just wondering
Hmm.
whether your time you're realizing your time is more valuable, and your enjoyment of your time is also valuable to you, so why not delegate?
Exactly.
Yeah. And also, I wonder if that's a way for people to feel like they're winning at something. Because you know how people will say something like, oh, I went to the hotel and they wanted to charge me $5 or $6 for a bottle of water. And they're like,
Hmm.
oh, it's such a ripoff. But it's like, no, that's a value that the hotel is offering, because you can either buy that $5 water or walk over to the nearest store. But what if the nearest store is like 20 minutes away? Like, would you rather part away with $6 or 20 minutes of your time? You decide. So, yeah,
Paying for convenience.
exactly, exactly. But, I think it just comes with, sometimes it comes with just knowing that you have a vision and you want to accomplish something more than just like little things, I would say, to some degree. I don't know. That's my thought
Hmm.
on that.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
What are you unlearning?
Yeah. What I'm unlearning is, it sounds simple, and maybe people have seen this in books, on TV or podcasts. I'm unlearning uh not being myself. If that makes sense. So just basically, I'm learning to be myself.
Hmm.
Or rather, I should say, I'm learning to accept myself. Um, and that for me has made me realize that me as just me, I'm I am a lot. Like like there's a lot I need to navigate within my own like world, I should say.
Mhm.
Um so I'm not like I have some strengths, I have weaknesses, I have limitations, the way I interact with people. There's just yeah, like even just on like the physical aspect, like my health, how I have to look after myself, my hair, like all these things, like I'm realizing this is what I need to work with is myself, and just be proud and accepting of just who I am. um the reason I say that is because I'll give you a very simple example. With my hair, um I've been on this hair journey for quite some time. By hair journey I mean just learning about my hair, what it does on a hot day, humid day, rainy day, like and even understanding what works for my hair in terms of washing it, conditioning it, moisturizing it. And before that, I used to just think, oh, why don't I have whatever, quote unquote, better hair or straighter hair? Um, but I've come to realize, like, no, this is my assignment. This hair of mine is my assignment. And ever since I've been able to understand it and deal with it, it's really been working well for me. Like, I know exactly what it needs on a particular day, and I know how not to leave the house because something's going to happen to my hair. And I just feel more like proud and more confident, um instead of running away from the natural responsibility I have for it, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It
okay.
does.
So yeah, that's that. Just be who you are. There's nobody else than who you are. I guess that's my message there.
I think that's something that everyone in a in some way or form is trying to learn. Um or actually not trying
Mm,
to learn, but it goes through on a daily basis. Because I'm pretty sure every single person in this world, including whoever is so called perfect, has something about them that they know someone else doesn't accept, or that the world is critical of, or something like that. And so there's this whole entire process that I think happens throughout your entire life of you just learning to accept yourself. Now, I think it's harder if you quote unquote deviate from the default, whatever the
mm,
default is. It means you might have it harder because you're being told you have to look like this, act like this, dress like this, do like this. And if you don't, if you're really farther from what people consider the norm, it can be much harder to accept yourself. But I
mm,
think that's, it's a daily thing. It's a and I think it's like, as you said, you have to take it one step at a time and work on. You don't have to accept everything about yourself initially, but you should start working on accepting things, accepting who you are at least one at a time. So I like how you talked about your hair, because that's one way you're working on accepting yourself. And then maybe when you get to the point where you love your hair, you have accepted it, you'll find something else in your life that you realize, I also need to work on this area. And then I can move on to that area and work on just accepting who you are. Of course, part of accepting who you are is also changing the things that you can change. If it's something you need to work on, like something you can be
mm-hmm,
better at for yourself. But if it's just something that the world is telling you, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that, I mean, that one, it becomes a no. You have to really know who you are and like yourself who you are. It's interesting because our favorite Aunt Fumi, she
ooh,
she wrote in one of her latest episodes, she talked about how part of her cutting um, her permed hair off and transitioning to natural was of her actually just accepting her natural self. Because
Mm.
she said, she's had been working on her health. She now has the body that she likes, but she also realized that her hair, it was not like where she wanted it to be. I mean, it
Mhm.
wasn't her natural self. Now, granted, there are people out there who maybe permed hair is what they are used to, is their natural state. It's fine. But like, I guess for Fumi Desalu, she was like, it makes more sense for me to at least finally accept my natural hair, and so now she's rocking it. And
Mhm.
it's interesting to see her because she's 50 something and she's still going through this process of accepting herself. That's why I realized just being comfortable with who you are is a lifetime journey.
Mm. Yeah. No, that does make sense. It Yes, but there is a lot. There is a lot, and it's great. It's great that we have so much to work on. We're never like arriving, I guess. It's a journey, as you said.
Hmm.
Mm, nice. All right, nice one. Okay, this is actually a good transition to what we will be talking about um, on self-sabotage. Because uh, we will be talking about, or we would like to talk about, in ways in which we are not serving ourselves and we're actually doing things or maybe perceiving things in ways that don't serve us. And as a result, we are probably not reaching our goals, or we're just not having a more pleasant life or joyful life, or something just feels like it's missing. There are so many ways that I feel like self sabotage does show up, at least the symptoms of it or the results of it. And so, yeah, I would like us to dive into this a little bit more, and see what we get out of it in this episode. Um,
Hmm.
Zell, do you have any initial thoughts, like when you hear the phrase self sabotage?
Yeah, basically, I think about um, the definition of what it means to me, and basically, whatever I am doing that is preventing me from being the best version of myself.
Mm,
And there's so many ways that you can do that. And I feel like it takes a bit of intuition and
mm,
stopping and actually evaluating your life sometimes to figure these things out, because some ways of self sabotage I think are much more obvious than other ways.
mm-hmm,
And it becomes like a bit of a challenge when, if something that you don't think you're doing, but you don't realize that you're actually self sabotaging yourself. And I think
mm-hmm,
that's when, the more obvious stuff is easier to pinpoint. The less obvious stuff, usually a lot of times it takes you maybe reading a book or listening to, some motivational speaker or a podcast or someone talking about it for you to figure out, wait a minute, I do that. And this might actually be a symptom of me self sabotaging. So that's usually what I initially think about it. I never actually thought it was about it beforehand until recently, as I'm on this emotional intelligence journey, and I am really enjoying like being more emotionally mature and all that.
mm-hmm,
So it's now that I've started to look back and I'm like, I can see symptoms of it, and I feel like again it takes a bit of emotional intelligence to also pinpoint some of these things, because a lot of times people will not think that they're self-sabotaging, but I
mm-hmm,
think it's a reality also in our lives in some way. I'm sure if we all look deep into our lives, there's probably one or so ways that we are preventing ourselves from being the best versions of ourselves. But those are my initial thoughts.
Yeah. I was actually thinking that it is hard, as you said, to recognize that you could be sabotaging yourself. And um, I'm thinking that one reason is a lot of people, a lot of us, I mean, myself included, initially, I used to be very outward focused. So when something did not go my way, it was the other person to blame, or it was the thing that, something happened, the weather, the
Mm,
government. I mean, gosh, so many things that are out there, and that I just cast a blame on those things, on those people. And and then it just, I don't know, it made things seem like, oh, of course it's not me, like there's definitely no way it's not me. And and sometimes it stems from also thinking, or maybe one a person having a high sense of self, of like they could definitely not be the ones creating their reality, because
mm.
maybe they think that everybody loves them and there's no way that they could be doing this. Um, so it's a very hard thing, I want to say, for to accept that you could be the reason for your own, you know, for things not going the way you want them to go. Um, so that's what I was
It's a
thinking
bitter
about.
pill. It's a bitter pill to swallow.
It is. It it really is. Um and it kind of makes you have to take on responsibility, if you know what I mean, because yeah, I mean, who wants to first of all see their own behaviors as not being positively serving them, and then having to realize and say, okay, I'm going to change. So there's almost this like aspect of, um I don't know, like it feels like you're going through this window of shame, or this window of like, oh, I can't believe it's me, and then now I have to start doing something different. um But one thing I want to talk about is, what are some of the things that we do, or common things that people tend to do, um, self sabotaging acts, like symptoms that
Mhm.
we can sort of talk about that say, no, you're self sabotaging yourself here.
I would say one of them is minimizing your achievements or your accomplishments. So if
Mm,
you're at work and you are responsible for something like some big project and it came out amazing or something, and sometimes have you ever had the thing when people congratulate you and you're like too humble, you know,
mm,
to accept it. Like you're too humble. You're like, oh no, yeah. And then you maybe sound like, oh, I worked so hard. I was even surprised that this happened and blah blah blah. Or like you kind of just instead of just simply saying thank you, um, yes, I did accomplish this great feat and I'm proud of myself. You kind of give excuses,
mm,
or you're too humble to accept the fact that you actually did so and so. And I have definitely done that. And this is where I really admire those people who are, I don't know, I guess they're just ultra confident And
Mhm.
any small thing you say, they'll be like, "Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you." And instead, you're there like, "Oh my goodness, yeah, it was such a hard thing to do. I didn't know I'd make it." No, I've actually started to realize, when you think about the response of like when they say yes, thank you, when they're sure of themselves, when they're not
Yeah.
making excuses for themselves, it's just
Mhm.
like the response you have to it is kind of like, "Oh, that's great, that's good." But then when you're there diminishing your achievements, it's just self sabotaging. We need to like take a hold of our achievements and be proud of them and just simply say yes thank you. You don't have to brag about it,
Mhm.
but be own it and be proud of it. And it's something I definitely struggle with because I mean I grew up in a family where my parents are both very humble,
Mhm.
so humility I think comes naturally to me. So
Mhm.
when I make all these achievements and stuff, it just sometimes it's like, yeah, I try not to overstated or something. I try to downplay them. Exactly, that's the word. Downplay
Mm.
the achievements and things like that. But I'm
Yeah.
realizing just that's in a sense self sabotaging myself. I need to take full responsibility of my successes too and own it because
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know. I know this is something that it can affect anyone. I think it affects women more than men in general because
Mm.
I feel like men have a better ability to come across as confident, whether they're faking it or not.
Mhm.
Women are
Yeah.
less likely to fake stuff. So we kind of, I'm really learning the fake it till you make it kind of thingy.
Yeah.
Because I think it, I'm like, no, I will, I will fake it. I will show you confident, even if I'm not confident. But it goes away. It goes a long way.
Mm. Yeah. No, that is a good one. You're right on that. Um, the other one that I was thinking is where people don't put their own needs first. Um,
Mm.
but instead, they put, the needs of others second. And there are several reasons why a person could do that, right? Like you said, depending on your upbringing, people uh could have been taught to be generous, be kind to others, be a good person, be a nice person, um and just being perceived as this person that you know means no harm and wants people to be happy. And yeah, or it could be that people are you know what do you call this, are like empaths in general, like um they, whenever they're around people, they want to not cause any issues, any problems. They feel the emotions of others quite easily, and if they feel that someone is upset with them, they will change or adjust their behavior to serve the person who they might think is upset or yeah, is uncomfortable. So in that way they're sacrificing themselves. um and again, are you going back to women versus men? I also do not know the statistics, but there's there's this tendency that women tend to be sacrificial, or they're willing to fight for other people but not themselves.
Mhm.
I believe there's some research on that as well. So yeah, and then the sad part about it is that in is that the way these people end up acting is that they're hoping that they'll get I don't know, like a big gift or a big round of applause for their acts, but they are just left as is. And yeah, and then at the end of the day they realize they have not achieved their goals or their dreams, and there's probably even an expectation or maybe even a resentment to the people that they served, because they were like, oh, I helped these people, but now they're not helping me, or when I've asked, they can't, you know, lift a finger or help me. So I don't know, just thought about that as well.
Basically, I mean, it's like you're being too self-sacrificing, because it's okay to put others before yourself sometimes.
Mhm.
Not all the time. I think you have to have the wisdom to know when to do that, because I know this all too well, because I'm an empath and I have been burnt before. And it was once when I was burnt when I learned, oh my goodness, I have to learn how to also consider myself in this situation. So like
Mm.
even if I put others first, I it's so true. If I don't consider my position in this situation and how it's going to affect me, then I'm definitely self-sabotaging myself. Because it's nice to
Mhm.
be able to help other people and stuff, but if I'm helping someone else to my own detriment, that's
Mhm.
self-sabotaging. So you have to be very careful to not put others needs before yours when it actually is a it's detrimental to you. It's so
Mhm.
important. If it's some, if it's something that is not going to be, it's not detrimental to you, it might not be beneficial, but it's not detrimental, then in that case, it's fine. And I mean, every now and then, if it's beneficial to you, it's even better. But the most important thing is not it being detrimental to you. And then, I don't know, something happened. Because that has definitely happened to me in the past, in which I helped one of my friends move. No, so her stuff was in my house.
Mhm.
And she was off the island, so I had to transfer her stuff to her new place.
Mhm.
And the problem was my next day was an exam.
Mm.
She like begged me to please move her stuff from my place to that place the day before my exam, and then she did not plan out the driver properly, transportation, and all that stuff. So it ended up being a whole fiasco. And then also, what ended up happening is the place where she was going to was not big enough for all her stuff, or we couldn't store her stuff. There's something wrong. So we had to bring it all the way back to my place.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
remember being so irritated because I wasted so many hours the night before my exam. And I was like, why am I doing this? I should have just told her, this is going to have to hold off, because it was so last minute that
Mhm.
I should have just told her we shouldn't do this, because it ended up affecting my sleep. And the next day I had to do my exam, and it was just like it was a whole mess. So I think that when I had that situation, I remembered, I was like, next time consider yourself and just tell them I would love to help you, but since it was such short notice, can you ask your landlady if this can be done in the afternoon or the evening or the next day after my exam? Now at least I know to speak up for myself, because I would
Mhm.
not in the past speak up for myself. I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm just going to do this for my friend. And no, nowadays I definitely consider myself. I consider what my position in the situation,
Yeah.
just because I think it's so important. But yeah, I like that what I definitely relate to it also. Actually, I relate to everything we've said. So
Mm.
I don't know why I'm saying that. but,
um yeah,
but
yeah. No, that makes 100%. That does make sense. Um yeah. Any other symptoms or traits?
I would say one of the things, another symptom or trait of self sabotage is kind of feeling like you're not good enough for something
Mm.
or someone or I don't know. Because one of the things that I have personally struggled with is, okay, so I have a vision in my head of this is kind of woman I want to be, I want to look like, with regards to like my body, my fitness and health, how I look like when I travel. Like I have it all in my head. And maybe it's because I follow too many travel influencers. But anyways,
Mm.
or you know, is this kind of, I did mention this earlier. I felt like I was holding myself back in regards to my health journey, because maybe part of me felt like I didn't deserve it.
Mhm.
And it was very humbling like realization, because why do I feel like I don't deserve the best body of my life? Why do I feel like I um don't deserve good things? I mean, I generally feel like I deserve good things, but there's certain things that might trigger these self-sabotaging tendencies. And for me, like a big one was just getting my dream body. That's like still in the works,
Mhm.
but it's something that I noticed. I don't know why I had this self-sabotage mentality, like, oh, I don't deserve it, or it'll never happen, or stuff like that. um
Mhm.
and just feeling like you don't deserve something is so, it's really self-sabotaging, like feeling like you don't deserve to be in a certain place. Why do you feel that? I'm not gonna lie, a part of this can also play into imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
um in the sense that you're like, wait a minute, I'm working here, I'm doing what, do I deserve to be here? I mean, it's my first year as an
Mm.
attending physician, and part of me is like, am I actually in the right place? Am I supposed to be here? Do I
Mhm.
deserve this? But I have to remind myself, hell yes, you deserved it. You went through medical school, you went through residency, you deserve to be here. But there's always that
Mhm.
doubting Thomas, the doubting
Yeah.
voice in your head that's trying to tell you you don't deserve to be here or do this. And in a sense that if you start falling victim to it, you start to feel like you're an imposter.
Right.
And I that's something I just tell myself actively to not fall victim to, that self-sabotaging voice that says you don't deserve this, you don't deserve to be here. Because who says that? Like, who's the determinant of that? I deserve to be here, I deserve to do that, so I
Mhm.
am going to do whatever I need to do, or I'm going to enjoy my life. I'm going to enjoy a luxury travel. I'm going to enjoy whatever I do. Like, it's all, you know, in my grasp, but I need to stop, listening to the doubting Thomas. I like calling it doubting Thomas voice, because I'm like,
Mm.
no, like, there's
Yeah.
no there's no room for that in my life, because it hinders your growth.
Yeah. No, 100%. It's I actually have a story to what you're saying, and since I've been on this fitness journey, believe it or not, I have what 3 more months before I consider it a full year going to the gym. So I've been doing that for 9 months now. And something that's very interesting is is that I've been lifting more weight, or weights, heavier weights. Um, and just recently, actually, I was doing a workout, a group exercise workout, and it's both men and women. And I realized I was picking up kettlebells that were the same weight as the men, and then I was just like, wait, what? Um, and it like it didn't occur to me that that's the weight I was lifting. And I also felt a little bit nervous. Like I felt like, no, there's no way. There's no way I'm lifting the same weight as these men. Because these men were bigger, of course, and taller than me. But then yeah, but then I was like, wait, but you've been putting in the time, the energy. It's been 9 months. Your body is ready to lift this amount of weight. But mentally, I was just still questioning myself throughout that workout. Um, and so I was actually just asking myself, like, okay, I need to get over this, then because the next thing is I'll just keep doing just what I've been doing, thinking like, oh, I have arrived, and I haven't arrived. And so I was just thinking to myself, hmm, maybe I need accountability here. I need someone to tell me you're not yet done, like you're not yet done. But mentally, I just did not like, honestly, I did not think I would get there. Like when I first started, like my first month of just working out, nothing, there was no change in my body, there was nothing. And then second month there was like not change. The only thing I would say is I slept better, but like I didn't see any physical changes. But until now, and until so yeah, so the mind is a very powerful tool. Um
Mhm.
and I'm just thinking I need my body is catching up, but like my mind is still thinking of the troll way 9 months ago. So which is something to work on. But yeah, it's very, very real. So which actually
You keep
brings
going. Okay. Well, I'll be checking in on you in 3 months' time when you hit your 1 year anniversary. I don't know how May is going to
I
May is going to go,
know.
but
I know. That is actually it's actually so funny that I feel bad now that I didn't take a before picture. So now I'm because I think initially I didn't even believe that I would keep doing it. I honestly did not
mm,
believe that. And if you have been listening to this podcast, I've been talking about how I have to go to bed early because I need to go to the gym, because I need to do these things. Yes, I can't believe it's almost a year. Um, but yeah, thank you, Zell. I will keep going. I actually feel like it's a good way to a good time to segue rather into things that we could do or we could share that could help us and our listeners on how to overcome or to manage self-sabotage. Um, because I'm pretty sure even the most successful people still experience this, but
mhm.
it's probably more low key and in the background. Um, but yeah, anything that you would like to share that you see working for yourself um or things that you have read about.
Mm. Before I say that, I have one more
Oh,
that I think I
okay.
need to mention
Okay.
because we're guilty of this. Part of self sabotage is not working on your goals.
Yes.
Like, I just thought about it. I was like, I have to say that because if you're working on someone else's goals, like you're just working, working, working at work, and then you're not pursuing your own goals, your own life dreams and stuff, that is self sabotage. Because at the
Mhm.
end of the day, does the your workplace care about you? Truth be told, no. You're
Mm.
just like a number for them. So
Mm.
you really need to work on your own goals, your own dreams, your own life aspirations. Because
Yeah.
who else is going to do that but you? Uh, that's why that's why I bought the piano because I was like, I need to work on my own goals. I need to work on the podcast. I need to work on that. So that's like, it's just the best way to rebuke yourself.
That's yeah. That that is very true. And there is actually I do want to say shout out to you, Zell. Because I was thinking about maybe the power of partnerships as well, or
Mhm.
like friendships, relationships, is because I don't know about you, but I find it just psychologically hard to think about myself. Like like in a way that is like, okay, I matter. Um and so it's easier for me to be, how do I say this, more responsible when I know it's somebody that I care about involved than when it's myself. So like for me it's like, oh, I'll give myself another 20 minutes to do this. But if it's somebody who says, let's meet up by this time, it's like, nope, Cholwe, you're not going to give yourself extra time. So I don't know if people sort of go through this. But having like a partnership for me really helps me to keep me accountable. And I like how, for example, you last week you were like, we need to record, and you were like, we need to record, and I was like, oh yes, we need to record. So I kind of just like stopped whatever plans I had, and I was like, we need to get a recording in because she's right. we cannot not record, you know. So so that was really powerful. And it just it put more like, I don't know, energy in me to be like, okay, you need to do this. You need to take this very seriously. And I think sometimes people don't like that, like, honest like feedback, like, you're not going the right direction. We need to do this. So I appreciate you for that. Um so
You're welcome.
yeah, cuz and it always feels like there's the sabotage there sometimes feels like, oh, there's more time for me to achieve my goals. So there's always like,
Mm,
I'll do that tomorrow. Oh, I'll get that tomorrow. Oh, I'll get that when I so there's it's always it feels like there is more time when it comes to self goals, but then when it comes to other people's goals, there is no time, like you have to do it now. So I don't know.
mhm.
Good point. Good point on
Good
there.
boy. But on to how do we, you know, deal with self sabotage? My first thing is always going to the root cause.
Mm,
And part of going to the root cause is actually knowing yourself. If you
mhm.
don't know yourself well, you won't know how to handle or deal with the problem. And this particularly goes with the self sabotage that is not as obvious as the other ones.
Yeah.
You really have to take time to deeply know why you act the way you do. What are your hidden traumas that maybe you got growing up? Because it doesn't matter whether you grew up in the most perfect household, everyone has some kind of trauma they're dealing with from, because no one is perfect. So there's something that, some conditioning or something you had as a child. what is what do you have that's causing you to self-sabotage? Because if you don't know the cause of the problem, the root of the problem, you wouldn't know how to fix it. And
Mm,
to me, that's just about going on this emotionally intelligent journey, trying to really discover more about who you are and why you are the way you are. And that takes time, but it also takes diligence and willingness to learn more about, you know, what's out there and what are the different resources over there to help you. Because you have to be willing to sit down and read a book, for example, or listen to a podcast that's talking about something to do with emotional intelligence or something like that, that might actually
mhm.
help pique your interest and help you realize, wait, there's some aspects I'm missing in this and that. You have to be willing to do the work to figure that out. But that's what I think is like a really important step to helping yourself with self sabotage.
Mm, good point. Good one. And related to that, or I would say connected to that, would be having to accept um probably the need to break some habits, especially ones that are cultural, um, or that
Mm,
seem out of the norm. Um, for example, we talked about how women are less likely to promote themselves, or they're more they're more self-sacrificing. I mean, it's not based on just an individual. This is like a collective sort of problem. So me being a woman, for example, and I've actually seen this honestly, where when I am interacting with, depending on the people, of course, um, because I come off confident or assertive, some people might not feel comfortable with that. They might think I'm too much. I'm just, like I'm supposed to be more subtle and just, I don't know, quiet, humble. Um and so, or if, yeah, like if you promote yourself and and you're proud of like how far you've come or how far I've come, and it's just like, oh, you're very selfish, or you're just like talking about yourself. So I've come to realize that you're not going to please everyone once you start actually looking after yourself. Like
Mm-hmm.
people are actually going to drop off your, in your network or your social circles, or you might, you might find yourself, I don't know if it's standing alone per se, but it's just being ready to break some of these cultural stereotypes and habits that we were taught growing up, and they don't serve us anymore.
And even if you can't please everyone, you have to be okay with not pleasing everyone. That's part of, you just have to learn how to be okay with not
Mm-hmm.
having everyone like you. One of the books I want to read is The Power to Be Disliked. Is it something like that? I
Ooh,
think there's a book called The Power to Be Disliked. I might have the wrong title, but it's something like that. And I want to
yeah.
read it because I feel like everyone has that. Like, there's absolutely no one who's liked by everyone in the world,
Mm,
and it just becomes it's fine as long as
mm,
you're confident in yourself, you have good self esteem, and you're also working on your own um faults and, like, you know issues in your life. If you're
mm-hmm,
working on them, I think you should be fine.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Because I'm sure people sometimes may not even be may feel like they're not in a position to change because it would change the the just the dynamics of their relationships, their friendships, because these networks are built on them being a particular person. But yeah, if you're looking to actually achieve the results you want, you're going to have to not please a lot of people actually. And that's just how it goes.
mhm, I
Hmm.
agree.
Yeah. Anything else?
Nope. At least not for now. We can go on for hours about this.
Yeah, no, it's a good one, and it is a good reminder. Especially like I said earlier, that we're half of the year is almost gone. So if you still do not feel like you're where you need to be, something is missing, perhaps it's a good time to reflect on what are you doing in your life that is impacting the results you want, or how are you thinking about your life that you may need to change. And as Zale, as you put it, some things you just may need to go deeper and deeper because it it's way deep inside you, where maybe it happened in your childhood and you just need to resolve some issues, and you might need external help like a therapist, a
Mhm.
counselor, or a coach, a personal trainer if you have been trying to, stick to your workout goals or routines. So there is help out there. You don't need to be stuck and accept that this is where your life or your journey ends. So yeah, I really like this. Great insight and topic. So again, we love that you're listening to us. Thank you for all our followers. We appreciate you, and we are just so happy that the content that we put out there is serving you. If you know anybody that would be blessed by what we are talking about by this podcast, please share it. We're on all the major podcast platforms, Spotify and Apple Podcasts being one of the, or two of the most popular podcast platforms. Very easy to share. And if you like what we're doing, again, please like us on these platforms, because it just helps us to know that you are listening to us, and we just want to get better and better. Um, and we look forward to doing more episodes. like this. And if you have any feedback for us, please write to us via email at thefeminineoutliersa@gmail.com. If that doesn't work for you, we also have an Instagram page that we are still building, but please follow us and you will be getting updates as soon as we get to it. So, we have come to the very end. Until next time, have fun, live large, and don't be afraid to be an outlier.